Assalamu alaikum students, welcome to English class. Today we are going to read a poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. And by the end of this unit, you'll be able to understand the poem. You'll be able to use critical thinking to respond orally and in writing to the text. You'll be able to understand different figures of speech used by the poet. So here is the poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I couldn't travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So this was the poem. Now we'll see stanza by stanza what actually the poet wants to explain or what he wants to tell. Hopefully you would have understood what does it mean. Okay. Now the first stanza, here we have some difficult words also, like you can see diverged. Diverged means separated and took a different direction or in a fork position. Yellowwood, a forest with decomposing leaves, and it refers to autumn as well. Okay. Undergrowth, dense growth of plants and bushes means the forest. Okay. So the first stanza, it talks about once the poet was walking down a road and then there was a diversion. There were two different paths and he had to choose one out of them. The poet says that he was one person and he could travel on one road only. He couldn't take both the paths at the same time. He had to make choice or he had to choose one out of these two roads. Yellowwood means a forest with leaves which are wearing out and they have turned yellow in color. And this is the season of autumn. It represents a world which is full of people, where people have been living for many years and they have grown old. Okay, they represent people who are older than the poet himself. The poet kept standing there and looked at the path very carefully as far as he could see, just to look at the path. Okay, the poet kept standing there, and before taking the path, he wanted to know how it was. Was it suitable for him to go or no? He was able to see the path till from where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and it was hidden and he couldn't see further. It happens in our life also. When we have choices, we have alternatives, but we are unaware of the situations. We have to choose only one out of them. We take time to think about the pros and cons and whether it is suitable for us or not, and only then we take a decision on what path we should choose. So in life also we have to decide on certain things. We have to make choices, okay, where the future is hidden from us and we don't know what actually would be the outcome of that choice. Okay. The second stanza, fair mean as good as the other one. Clay mean better option. Grassy, it refers to unused. Okay. Full of grass means people had not used that path. Wanted wear means since it had not been used, so it was better choice. Now the second stanza, the poet kept on looking at one path for a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not. And then he decided and started walking on another path because he felt that the both paths were equally good. And he says just as fair, so he felt that the both paths were equally good and he started walking on one of them. He adds that maybe he felt that path was better for him because there was grass on it, which means that it was unused. Since it was not used by many people, so he made the choice to take that path. Okay, and wanted where means that it was not walked over by many people. After he walked on the path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same way. Both the paths were similar and they were worn out. Even in our life, see, here the poet wants to tell us that in our life also we take any path or option, but it is not necessary that uh, we think that this path is quite easy, but maybe that path uh, turns out to be full of disadvantages or problems, or might be full of benefits. So we have to face challenges, we have to take risks in our life. We think that we are choosing a better option, but it is not that way. Okay, uh, once you take the action, you feel whether your choice is good or bad. You cannot decide beforehand. Okay, the third stanza, trodden. Over here only one word is very difficult, that is trodden. Trodden means walked over. The poet says that both the paths were similar that morning when he took them. Both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them as they were still green in color. He decided that day he would take one path and keep the other path for another day, although he knew that one way leads on to another way. He knew that he could not go back on the choice that he had made. Now, this is a very deep point. Similarly, in our life, once we choose an option, we must keep on moving ahead. We must keep on moving ahead with that option. And we cannot get back. We cannot go back to our to change our choice. We never get a chance to come back and take the other option that we had left earlier. So it is useless to regret. Okay, once you have made the choice, go with it, and whatever difficulties or whatever advantages or disadvantages you come across, you have to face them boldly. Okay, the last stanza, I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Now, sigh means deep breath, hence here or in the future. He says that in future he will take a deep breath and say that once upon a time he had reached such a point in life that there were two options for him, and he traveled on the road which had been traveled upon by lesser number of people, the road which was not traveled by many people. So it means he took a path which was unique, which was not taken by many people. He made a good choice. Okay, that decision of his decided his future. Similarly, in future, when you grow up, you will say that once upon a time when you were young, you had two options, and there comes a time in your life where you have to make choices, where you have two options, and both the options look equally good, but you don't know what would be the result or the outcome of that choice. Okay, so we have to make such choices. Okay, this is a very strong message for all the students, especially for you, that you should be wise and be careful by making choices out of the options that you have in your life, because your future depends on the choices that you make today. And you have to take risks also. This is also very strong point. Okay, you have to take risks in your life in order to face the situations. If you don't take risks, it means you are not going to grow up in your life. So this was all about the explanation of this poem. Hopefully you would have understood the writer's point of view, and you'll be able to explain each stanza in your own words. So thank you so much for listening. Tomorrow we'll discuss the literary devices and figurative language used in the poem. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.